Hey guys, welcome back to another episode. Today's episode, Dilemmas from the Dark Side. As today we will cover literally the dilemmas of prequels, sequels. Are they worth it? Are they not worth it? What makes a good sequel or prequel, or what breaks a good sequel or prequel? I am your host, Luna Rising.
And I am Darcy Barton.
There we go. How you doing today, Darcy?
I am spectacular. How are you doing?
Running off 3 hours of sleep. I'm doing fan-frickin-tastic. To be
Oh,
honest,
a bit much like me.
yeah. I mean, I'm not really tired. Did wake up, have coffee, and a few
Well,
other
you're not
things. But
slumped.
other than
No,
that,
you're not going to. Well, you're not slumped. Or I don't know about anybody else, but see when you've running on no sleep, you don't like get to this a certain time of day, and if you don't just get over that hurdle, man, you are absolutely fucked, and you will fall asleep at the wrong
nope,
time and totally fuck yourself up. Oh, I
nope.
wish I had the
I have the energy of a small little chihuahua running around the house.
a chihuahua, really,
Hey,
a
those
lantana.
those those things are devil incarnates. I will say that proudly, but they are.
Yeah, land
So,
piranhas.
so today, I know we did talk on yesterday's podcast when we were doing it that we were going to do two episodes today, but we decided against that. So we did still do the hat draw. We came back, we're gonna do this one, which is about sequels, prequels, and remakes. And then next week when we do another podcast episode, it is going to be which one was it? It was who played the best Dracula. The reason why we did break these up and not do them on one day like originally because
A lot of
the Dracula one is going to be pretty long. Yeah, and not only that, there's going to be a lot of research behind that one as well. So that gives us a whole week to do research. And then this is something that holds near and dear to Darcy and I because we both absolutely hate sequels, prequels, and remakes. They're usually never good. There are a few that we have found and that we both can agree with that have been at least halfway decent.
or needed, or
Yes,
needed, which we will
absolutely.
discuss.
But yes, in which we will discuss. But other than that, yeah, we hold it near and dear because the premise of a good sequel, prequel, and remake, and her and I were talking about this before we actually started recording, was sticking to the source material. In our opinions, that's something that would actually make a great sequel, prequel, and remake, but a lot of times they never do.
Especially when they've got all this history, backstory, lore, and everything like that. You think they would want to, like, even they could dip into these things and actually pull something out that, yes, we might know, but you can use that idea and elaborate, like, your telling of it, but it's still something that's came from the backstory, the lore, and everything that the character in the universe already has created. But a lot of people fail to do this because they think, okay, I'm going to say I'm going to do this, but I'm going to do something else because I know better. And then your movie or your TV show, your franchise ends up shit because of your stupidity of not using the tools you already have. Put it that way.
Yeah, yeah, you couldn't have said it any better, honestly, because yeah, that's definitely the one thing. I mean, having a bunch of backstory, lore, or anything like that they could literally do a sequel, prequel, or remake on, and they completely do a 360 or 180 and go the complete opposite direction, and that is something that fails horribly and miserably. Now you did send me a guide and everything like that, and I was reading it before we did start, and I did see something in here that was the perfect example, and we talked about it pretty heavily on last episode too, and that is good old Halloween 3, which is Season of the Witch.
Shouldn't even be in that fucking franchise.
No, no. So technically, if you guys don't know, it is technically part of the trilogy of the first three movies.
But it's not.
It's not. But like we did say on the other episode, Halloween Season of the Witch does not have a place in the Halloween universe. Period. Going through and before we got on the podcast, I told her I was like wanted to watch it to see if there was absolutely anything tied into it. I had it pulled up. I just couldn't bring myself to click on it. I really couldn't. So,
Terrible. Gives you that
it
weird taste
is.
in your mouth. It's like
It
not
does.
going.
It's like really, really strong. Like it's basically like I'm sucking on pennies.
Oh
That
god.
copper and iron taste.
Yeah, you just don't want to go there, man.
Yeah, so going through, I did do a little research about it because, quite honestly, I did have a feeling it was going to be brought up in this episode. I did do a little research. Michael Myers is not referenced at all in Season of the Witch. It has nothing to do with Michael Myers, period. So,
Just used
y-
the franchise to push a movie.
yeah, and as you and I have talked about too, basically Season of the Witch was a filler for the franchise.
We've talked about that, like obviously this podcast now, the Supernatural one, but we've definitely discussed that over other TV shows that we are watching and stuff. That these filler episodes don't need, or filler movies, we don't need them.
Yeah, no.
Just fucking make us wait for the actual movie or the TV show or whatever. Do you know what I mean? It's
Yes.
like, why waste your money doing
Absolutely.
that?
So, just going back through it, if anybody who listens to this, if you guys do have any insight of what Season of the Witch was trying to bring to the Halloween franchise, please put it in the comments because I would like to know because I'm a lover of the Halloween
It brought
franchise.
nothing.
Yeah, I mean, I'm a big lover of the Halloween franchise, and I would love to know if it actually did bring anything or if it didn't. I don't think that it did, and obviously Darcy feels the same way. It didn't bring anything to the table. It did not bring a light. It didn't bring any kind of backstory of it. And I think you and I were talking, and I honestly think you said it the best before we did start recording today was if they're going to do something like that, then they should have from the creators of, I think the movie should have probably just been called Season of the Witch and have it as from the creators of Halloween. And
From the creators that brought you
yes,
Halloween and then talk about other things, but they used to do that with other things from the creators of, but then they stopped doing it. But Season of the Witch, see, the first time I seen it, I was just like, why is this part of the Halloween? And that was way back then as a teenager. I was just like, why is that in this universe? Why is this part of this franchise? What the fuck?
yeah,
It makes no sense
yes,
whatsoever. And see that way, it kind of confused me because it kind of reminded me of, it was weird, The Wiz of all things. I know I've seen that. Some British folk haven't seen The Wiz. I was just like, what the fuck? I was like, this is just giving me The Wiz vibes with Halloween title. I was just like, what the fuck?
yeah,
I was just like, made no fucking sense to me.
yeah. And I know
And it's terrible.
it is terrible. It is.
It's terrible that
I know that some movies now, especially horror movies, which I am happy for, they are starting to bring that from the producer of, from the creator of. They're starting to bring some of that back, which is great.
but it's late
It is
to the
late.
party.
It is, but there are some movies that I go in with a open mind whether they are going to be
Really.
crap or not because it does say we'll just say from the creators of The Conjuring or from the producers of Insidious or something like that.
I've noticed that with Insidious.
Yeah, and to be
I think it's Insidious I've noticed it with.
yeah, and honestly too, I also look for production studios. And I have
Yeah.
noticed that there is one production studio in question that actually. Now, this is just my opinion, guys. Again, if you guys think differently, that is fine. Post it in the comment what you think and what
Comment.
production studios you guys like. But one in particular, I think, has blown a lot of the horror genre out of the water lately, and that's because they are starting to kind of reinvent it a little bit and do different stuff with it, and that's Blumhouse. I have seen numerous Blumhouse movies, and I honestly feel as if a lot of their movies have been great. I don't
We
know.
really need, and we just see, I know obviously companies like that, they might not want to be a genre specific thing. I get that, and obviously Hollywood's is a cesspool of evil, and they make a lot of things that they think are going to make money, but not. But there isn't a really good horror company like that,
Yeah.
like a distributor or like a film company that just predominantly does horror and sci-fi, fantasy, all that.
Yep. And
pathetic, to be honest.
It is, and to be honest, I mean, have you seen Blumhouse production movies by any chance? And I know you have, because I'm sitting here looking through a list of them. So just their opening scenes for them, just that like opening production scene, they are meant to be genre specific for movies, just because that opening scene, just how they have their Blumhouse productions, I guess label visual in the movie. It's definitely meant to be that way. To be honest, Blumhouse has a list of movies that are absolutely amazing. I can go through a couple. The Insidious series is Blumhouse.
Happy Death Day. Although
Yeah,
they did do the Craft Legacy, they should be slapped for fucking that.
yes, Truth or Dare. I honestly thought Truth or Dare was a very decent movie. I loved Get Out. The Black Phone with Ethan Hawke. Now that one right there, that one was a great movie, but it also was a horrible movie all at the same time. I don't know. Have you watched The Black Phone yet?
No. There's a few movies that I've got obviously waiting to watch. It's just that when TV shows come out, like, the full season, I like to watch the full season and not wait. So that's why movies I've kind
Yeah,
of been taking it back.
The Visit on here. I actually,
Megan.
yeah, Megan. I actually enjoyed The Visit. I know it sounds weird. The movie was not that great, but it was messed up at the same time because it's literally about kids visiting their grandparents. So but it's all camera shot, and the one kid that plays in it is annoying as fuck.
There's always an annoying kid in movies.
Yeah, but he's a white kid, but he tries to be hard because he wants to be a rapper. He's very annoying. Unfriended. I loved Unfriended. I will watch that anytime I watch it.
Yep. Sinister, obviously.
Yes.
It was at Glass as well, which was very, very good. Obviously, part of the
Glass.
Split.
Yeah, and Split's in here as well.
Also, Black Christmas.
Yes.
Again, very good. Even though it's a remake, I just love that. I love that actually.
And then
I love those films. So
the remake of The Invisible Man. Shockingly enough, in my opinion, I thought that remake was actually halfway decent because it touches on a lot of domestic things. It would be the best way to put it. But it is a guy who created an invisible serum that, was abusive to his wife. And another one that is on the top of the list that is going to be coming out, I think this year sometime, which I'm actually not going to lie, I'm kind of excited to see that Blumhouse did. It is Five Nights at Freddy's.
my kid is he was obsessed with it, and I thought it was like a kid's cartoon.
Yeah, this is going to be Blumhouse. This is going to be Blumhouse that comes out with this. I would watch the trailer before giving the A-OK to have your son watch it. I've seen it.
Don't worry. Cause he's a wee bit older in the head, he's still a child. We watch everything that he watches, and everything like that. And I don't care if some parent allows their kid to, because that's their choice.
Yeah, absolutely.
When it comes to my son, then everybody thinks I'm a dictator anyway. So it's like it doesn't really matter that I'm trying to protect him. So I really don't care if people judge me all you want, but I'm trying to protect him.
But see, although Blumhouse Productions has this plethora of gorgeous movies that they have done, they also had hands, and there's 3 of them right here: Halloween, Halloween Kills, and Halloween Ends.
Is it the I haven't seen the most recent Halloween.
Halloween Ends.
But I went to see. But there was lots and lots and lots of. See, because was it not released during the pandemic?
Not
made during the pandemic.
It was made during the pandemic. So Halloween, I guess, like the continuation of it was released in 2018. Halloween Kills was released in 2021, to where Halloween Ends was released in 2022.
So 2020, well, again, there's a few films that did back to back because it was during the pandemic. Or the apocalypse. There's one film I did see though that looks good. I just linked it to the hubby there that I want to see it. It's called There's Something Wrong with the Children. Apparently.
Yeah.
It was out in the 17th of January. Just because when they say there's something wrong with the kids, it kind of reminds me of Village of the Damned, and there's something definitely was wrong with those kids.
Yes.
Showed you in the fucking cover of the movie.
And I'm looking at it too. IMDb gave it a 5 out of 10.
Terrible.
Yeah, 5 out of 10. Rotten Tomatoes gave it a 62%. But that could literally just be their...
Anyone just writing.
Yeah.
anything.
Their
Is that
opinions.
you never
I,
know?
I might end up watching it because I haven't seen that movie yet either, but I might end up watching it too, just for the simple fact is, you have kids in a horror movie. It's creepy. It is like
Is that the
Sinister. Sinister was creepy because you have the main villain that is making kids do the killing. It's creepy. So, I might end up watching that. Now there's one on here too that was where's it at?
Have you seen Viral?
I have seen Viral.
Is it good? Well, you know me.
Viral, it was
Only
decent.
one person I recognize.
It was
Only
decent.
one person I recognize, and it's Michael Kelly, and that's it.
Yeah, I mean it was decent. It's not something to obviously write home about, but it was decent.
I'm just trying to figure out some things to watch in October, even though again, if you have any suggestions of movies that were out in 1983 that aren't a fucking James Bond film, please let me know because I want to go through. I always watch movies that are on the year I was born in the month of my birthday, which is October. So I kind of like to do that. And I don't want to watch James Bond because I fucking hate James Bond. Don't come for me. I just don't
You
fucking like him.
still need. You've had a couple kid-free days, and I know you have not watched The Green Inferno yet.
How do you know?
Just because I do.
If there's a lot of things I have to do in child-free days, including Hoover, because my son doesn't like the Hoover and the
I,
vacuum cleaner.
I get that, but I've been waiting for you to watch it because it is an Eli Roth. So
Yes, Sex Education came out, and also something else came out as well. I had to watch it, even though
yes, so you need to
I wa-
chop on that.
I'm trying.
That'll be a perfect one to talk about, especially for this upcoming
I watched
October.
the yes. I watched the last voyage of the Demeter
How was that, by the way? Because I
tonight.
still have yet to really actually want to watch it because
So you haven't watched it, and you just basically scolded me for not watching the Green Inferno, my friend.
well, I knew
Um,
you were gonna watch your opinion on it first before I actually did watch it because it is another Dracula movie, and
which we'll probably discuss when we do Dracula,
yes,
probably next week. But see, for me, my husband and I, we watched it, and when we thought about it, it was like, why have they never did something like this? Like, and see, it kind of tied up in ours, like Bram Stoker's Dracula, and also Dracula Untold, like the voyage of him
okay,
Dracula, from
okay,
where he was going on the boat. Because find well, shit was going to happen if you got a coffin like that. People shitting themselves because there was like a dragon on it. People leaving the ship going, I'm having nothing to do with it
okay. Well
because it's a
then,
symbol that basically it is good.
all right,
But
but
it, I I don't know about you, but I lose interest in films if they don't keep my attention all the way through.
okay,
And the
okay,
same with TV shows as well. So if you don't have my whole undivided attention, then I can end up fucking about my phone because I'm bored. I
okay,
still thought their Dracula was very, very good because it was technically Dracula being stasis because he was in a coffin, but again, he would still be feeding at some extent, which I'm not going to say anything else because there's other things that obviously when you watch the movie you'll see
okay,
because you'll probably work it out, but I just don't want to. They, I like the way they showed him in his like technically true form and not just like his human form,
okay,
like you see
okay.
in. Because you do see a different form of him in Bram Stoker's Dracula and also in Dracula Untold, and a lot of other uh, vampire films will show you like the bat version or anything like that,
Yes.
but it shows you like his true form
Okay.
basically and how powerful he is basically. So I liked it, but it's ended in a way that could have a sequel,
Okay.
like a continuation of the story. So
Well, I guess that could actually be something that we can actually talk about on this episode too, is because throughout the years there have been so many reinterpretations of Dracula, to where
Lost Under the Rug
yeah, so
as well, if they're not a big movie.
they could literally be part of sequels, prequels, and remakes because the movies have been remade numerous times. They've had prequels, they've had some sequels. So, in a way, Dracula is one of those ones that is, in my opinion, it kind of
a
never,
never-ending story.
yeah, it's a never-ending loop. It never fails. That at one point in time, because the hype for vampires loses its gumption and then comes
Yeah,
back.
yeah, for a few years, yeah. And that's why so many movies and TV shows have failed over the years because, like, the werewolf, like, for example, I loved a TV show called Moonlight and it was about a vampire, but the vampire was Mick St. John and he was a police officer or he was a detective. That was already a rip-off of another TV show that was out in the early 90s called Forever Night, and it was about a guy called Nick, and he was a detective and he only worked at night and he always showed you flashbacks. He was much older. That TV show was, I don't know if it was big in America, but they showed it at like 3 o'clock in the morning here in the UK, and I only seen it because I never slept. So as a teenager, so that's why I seen Forever Night. But Moonlight came out and it had folk from like Veronica Mars and stuff like that, and it had really good actors. But again, it came out at the wrong time. It came out before True Blood. It came out before, Vampire Diaries and stuff. They had literally just stopped the vampire stuff, then it was like they were going to something else, and it was literally just before. You need to hit it,
Yeah.
kind of like the peaks and troughs type thing. You need to hit it at just before the peak or when it's peaking for you to actually have a successful TV show or movie in that genre. Because once they go into vampires, so that's when they start to go into things like werewolves and other supernatural beings, and then it stops, and then it's sci-fi kind of takes over for a bit. I've noticed it's kind of like
Yes.
music, like the way music goes. Like metal was like big in the 80s, and then it disappeared. Well, it never really disappeared, but then it came back, and then like the end of the 90s, then new metal and stuff. It was,
Yep.
what I mean. So therefore, if you don't hit it at the right bit, you're fucked, which is so sad because you find these TV shows later, like Blood Ties was another vampire show, again about a blind person who had a vampire friend, and she was like a PI or something like that. It's another TV show. It got 2 seasons, but it came out just after Buffy.
Yeah.
And I think Buffy and Angel and stuff, it literally had stopped, so it's incredibly fucking infuriating. Although Dracula was in an episode of Buffy, so I'm looking forward to that. So I need to write that down. Keep forgetting because he's randomly shown up
He is, and
in random shows.
and not only that, just for the sequels and stuff like that. I think the one thing that really kind of pisses me off, like vampire movies, werewolf movies, and stuff like that, when it does come to like any kind of sequel, they always seem to change the actors. I mean, that's true for really any genre, but it always seems to happen more with vampire movies or werewolf movies or even movies of the supernatural. It just they change them. They don't ever keep the same main character or anything like that, and it's always going to the guy still, whoever they change it to, still has the same name as the original. They just are different characters, and they've done that throughout so many years, and that, in my opinion, is horrible. Now, I can understand if it's like a prequel, because that's before, so it could be showing a guy, let's say a vampire that's thousands of years old, and
Yep.
they do a prequel to where he's still human at 30 years old or 20 years old. Of course he's not going to look the same. So yes, change the actor. That's fine. But changing the character completely, but still having the same name. It's that's one thing is I think you even have it wrote down here. It's the lack of originality. It's
But it
yeah,
is
it's
the
it's
story when they do that.
yeah, it's horrible that they can't keep. I mean, I'm the same way as you. They can't keep the attention of their viewers because I'll just throw this out here. I'm not, it's just a movie scenario, but let's say you have Vin Diesel playing a bad guy, and then you have Kevin Hart playing a good guy. And then the sequel, they end up having The Rock play the bad guy, but still has the name as Vin Diesel's original character from the first one. It's horrible.
Yeah,
It's
since The Rock plays himself, he can't act, so there's that.
I mean, he
And
can act. He acts like a rock.
oh, yes, I'm saying he acts like himself. He's not a talented actor on the fucking slightest. And boo-hoos about things when his movies are shit. Boo fucking who. You see how I really love that guy,
Yeah.
can't you?
Well, see, that's one of the main huge reasons that kind of threw me off Fast and the Furious franchise. Granted, there's multiple reasons that threw me off with that, but
It's just really doing shit. I
yeah,
just don't
but
understand it. They should have ended it.
the biggest thing though was like you had just said that when The Rock doesn't get his way, he whines about it. Well, back when they released the Fast and Furious franchise, and then The Rock turned around and did that spin-off called Hobbs and Shaw with Jason Statham.
I actually like that because Jason Statham's in it.
Yeah,
And saved that movie.
but there was a big argument between The Rock and Vin Diesel.
They hate each other. But
Yeah, well,
both of them are pricks,
I
to be
mean,
honest.
there's a reason why they did that. The reason why is because the Fast and the Furious franchise was Paul Walker's vision. When they invited The Rock into the whole thing, The Rock ended up wanting to make it his own vision when that's not how it was supposed to be. So Vin Diesel had a huge problem when they did a spin-off of the movie because of that.
That's what he was like with Black Adam. He wanted to recreate the DC universe where Black Adam was like better than the Justice League and also Superman. And he didn't want to fight Shazam, even though Shazam and Black Adam are from technically the same like universe.
Yeah, I mean they're
part of that universe. He wanted to rewrite it, and that's what annoys me because he was literally doing all that shit. I could be here all day bitching about fucking Pebble all day long, which is my name for the fucking rock because he's small and insignificant and no one gives a fuck. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
So I could argue about that prick all day long, but I'm just saying he's not going to win. See if his movie's not good, he blames everybody else
Yeah.
and doesn't fucking take it around to the fact that it could be fucking good.
Yeah.
You're in this situation, this scenario too. Why the fuck are you not fucking thinking about it? He's went back to the wrestling, so he can fucking stay in the wrestling for all I care if I don't fucking see him in a few movies for a long time.
Like I will say this, like what is it? The Baywatch movie. Thought he played a decent part in that because he played a big dumb brute.
Yes.
I mean, what's the other one? Central Intelligence with Kevin Hart. I honestly think those two are funny together.
Funny.
But again, he also played a big dumb brute in that movie.
And he tried to portray himself as he was a wee geeky guy.
Yeah.
Who no one liked him because he was overweight. And I was like, that is bullshit. I was like, what the fuck?
Yeah, so, I mean...
But no. I liked Central Intelligence, that was funny as well.
It was hilarious, and so was Baywatch.
Was he called Rampage?
See, yeah, he was, and I did like that, and that's only because I grew up, now, I don't know if you've heard of it, but it's a Sega Master.
Yes.
Yeah, so...
You are. Of course I've heard of it.
Hey, not a lot of people actually have heard of the Sega Master, but there was a game called Rampage on there. And it literally, you are playing as I think you do play as a giant destroying buildings and everything like that. So when they made a movie about a game that was released well before my time, I was ecstatic about it because I did love that game. That was something that ties me to my grandmother. My grandma had the Sega Master, so that tied me to my grandma. So yeah, I definitely wanted to see it. I loved it. I thought he did a good part in that movie, but he also tries to put himself into movies that he can't do, period. And again, like you said, when he does those movies, he definitely does need to go back to wrestling. But there are some movies that he is fit for, Rampage being one of them, Central Intelligence was another one, and Baywatch definitely was another one just because you had to be mindless to just play a part in that movie. I'm sorry. I grew up, I loved David Hasselhoff in the TV series Baywatch, but when they did it with The Rock and Zac Efron, I thought it was freaking hilarious. It brought a whole new meaning to comedy, so I thought it was funny, but...
Shocked though if they actually tried to watch Baywatch and it was not like the fucking movie.
Yeah. But, I mean...
It's just boobies, basically, that's it.
I mean, there's no real complaints about that.
You know what I mean, but it wasn't like... it had, like, the most, like, amazing, like, story and stuff. And
True.
It was literally women running about in swimsuits with boobs.
Yeah, well, I mean, shockingly enough, they tried to make that a little bit different movie, though, because they did try adding a plot to it about a drug dealer on a beach. So they did try adding some sort of plot, but when you have Alexandra Daddario...
Oh, she's gorgeous.
Yeah. Yeah. So and
Her, I don't know if you've heard what I've said about Alexandria Daddario. The quote I usually say is, "She could tell me to walk in front of a bus, and I wouldn't disagree. I'd just do it."
exactly. I was
That's the way.
not only that, like I don't know if she wears contacts or not, but those eyes are
Eyes. She should
yes.
be Medusa. Medusa. That's why I think she should play, even though she was in the Percy
I
Jackson
know, and
like original show, original
I
movie.
I definitely agree with you. She definitely should have played Medusa in the Percy Jackson series because those eyes
Just
are
those eyes, man. You
yeah,
can't stop staring at them, man.
those would have been perfect for those. And I guess technically, if you really wanted to, we could throw the Percy Jackson series in here because them being
I love it. I'm reading it
yeah,
at
they
work, and it's a lot of
technically they would be a part
under fantasy.
yeah, under fantasy, and they would technically kind of be part of the, prequel, sequel, and remake, just in a different way because
Yep.
they're going from books to movies. And um, the three movies that they did, or two movies that they did, I thought they did great. I did think the actor who did Percy, though, was a little selfish. The reason why he didn't complete the trilogy was because he didn't want to finish it off until he got a movie award or something like that. Yeah, so that kind of ticked me off because he literally had one more book to finish for the movie. And honestly, him, Alexandra Daddario, I thought made a great cast for
The eyes.
yes, the eyes. But I honestly thought they made a great cast for the movies. Now because he I guess is refusing to do the third one, now they're redoing it into a TV series, I think. Or
Yep.
did.
But it's not just the fact. No, it's not the fact that they're making it a TV show. They showed the cast and who they've picked for the characters. Now, I've read all of the Percy Jackson Lightning Thief series. We're actually on Apollo, which is like I think the third set of like genre, but it's still got Percy and it's got obviously other characters. See the thing that's happening in Hollywood now, where they're like 4400 was a TV show back in the 2000s.
I
They've
remember the
remade it,
4400.
and well, it was 4400 everybody, no matter what your race was. But now the 4400 remake is 4400 black people taken over time and then taken back and then brought back. They've taken the full story and then they've just obviously a bunch of it's African American people in there and a bunch of Asian people as well,
Oh, that's not right.
actors. And I said no. I said so. The minority is the two white people that are in it. So
So there is
that's why it annoys me about Percy Jackson because they've made the character they've picked for Grover looks nothing like the description. Put it that way that you're reading.
mm,
And when you're reading the books, they'd have to change the fucking books because they're trying to make sure that they hit all the fucking demographics for to stop all these folk fucking complaining about stuff. And it shouldn't matter about the colour of your skin,
yeah,
your age, your sex, or anything. If you're good at your job, you're good at your job. They shouldn't be just changing fucking characters because of this.
I
You
could
know what I mean? The things you
yep,
can't say, the thing you can't do, the things you shouldn't say.
I couldn't disagree.
Exactly. And it's just ruining things. It's ruining again stories that people have read. And what
Oh,
was
I
the
mean,
point?
I
I'm
mean,
just hoping the TV show is hopefully
if
good.
you, I mean, if you really want to get into that topic too, we'll look at the biggest one out there that characters did not match up with their movie counterparts from the books, Harry Potter.
I didn't read the books and I didn't think the movies were
So I
particularly great. I was
have.
just like, man,
I've read the books, I've read the watched the movies, and there's multiple different reasons for that.
she's a
One
little.
is my grandma, she used to buy me the books, and then because the movies, the original movies before they did the other one, they all came out roughly around my birthday. So my grandmother would always take me to go see them for my birthday. So, but
That's a tradition, nostalgia
yeah. So
thing.
reading the books and then watching the movies. Granted, the cast now are basically OG cast members. Everybody knows them from that. But in hindsight, technically, they don't look anything like they're supposed to.
No,
So
and it shouldn't matter at the end of the day.
it shouldn't.
Especially the way children's books are created. They're creating an image for the child, and obviously if you're the adult
Yeah.
reading them, you get that image too.
Yeah,
So I just
but
you
it
can't fucking make everybody happy, unfortunately.
no, but then there are some things on that too, as to where they do need to, again, we'll go with this topic, need to stick with the source material. So doing animes and then wanting to do their live action counterparts to them,
Oh god, that one.
they need to fit the characters with the part. Animes, anything like that, are usually always strictly Japanese, Chinese kids, and they always end up putting American kids or something like that in the movies. So it's drives me nuts when they do that.
Preaching yes to the choir. Everybody feels like most people. I don't. I think there's some people who might find it annoying. Us, we find it incredibly annoying. But we're like a fucking minority, and there's no as much of us shouting about it. Do you know what I mean? Although we do have our podcast thing to shout about it, but
Yes, we have something to where we can spread our voice and shout about it, whether anybody agrees with us or not. But still, we can still argue, and that is our right, and we're right,
exactly.
and we're right.
Well, we're right in our way. I've sent you a message, by the way, of the movies I forgot to add. And I wanted to add, see, when we're talking about sequels, what in the right mind did Hollywood think that 3D horror movies was a good thing ever? What the fuck? Everything was 3D at one point. 3D, 3D, 3D.
Yeah,
Why?
I
Horror movies, it was just like,
Yeah, well, I mean, you also got to think too.
really?
Horror movie or 3D horror movies, but let alone 3D movies did have a place and time because 3D was
Just
the next big thing.
definitely.
I'll actually never forget that there was maybe 10 years ago, 12 years ago. I'm not sure exactly. The only reason why I remember this, and it's kind of a slightly funny story, but the only reason why I remember this is about 12 years ago. I'm going to say 12 to 15. I had a buddy. I guess there was a phone company or a phone brand. I don't know which it was. I don't know, Samsung. I know it wasn't iPhone. Or if it was like a knockoff phone company, whatever. They did try coming out with a 3D phone. So like when you watched it, like the picture and everything was 3D. You could be looking at it straight on, but it kind of looks like it was 3D. Like you could see around it and stuff like that. And the only reason why I remember about that phone is because my buddy, the first thing that he did when he got that phone, he was like, "Bro, I wonder what porn looks like with this phone." I'm like, of course, you out of everybody would think that way. Is you want to know how 3D it looks, and to be fair, yes, I kind of was curious too because that was kind of interesting that they had a phone that was 3D, and it was 3D. It literally looked like he had two little humans in his hand, the palm of his hand. And yes, it was interesting, but only he would think that way. Like, ooh, 3D phone. Let's look up porn. Let's make that the first thing I look up. And I'm like, I'm
Especially
like,
with mobile
okay.
phones, with cameras and stuff.
I'm like,
What were they
whatever.
used for? And also vibrating, and also when your phone vibrated and stuff. Where do you think that was getting put? Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Seriously, always jokes about
So
it.
I know we
But
did kind
I
of.
would probably be that person.
I know we did kind of get a little
But no,
off topic, but that's okay.
no, it's all on topic
It
because
is.
it's like, yeah, what three? Because a lot of sequels are 3D sequels. And that's what I'm saying. So I've sent a list of the movies that have sequels, and we're going to go through them, right? And say do you agree to disagree? Like, for example, Hellraiser. Do you think we needed like what all 10 movies?
No, absolutely not.
A bit of explaining throughout the movies would, like, for people who don't pay attention to them, or maybe people who have maybe not seen them in order or seen random ones. I get it. Hellraiser, a huge franchise, but we spoke about it in the when I picked Frank's death. It was just like in the like randomly like memorable deaths that just because should you really? If the story is not good, you can have as much gore, blood, torture, and shit all you want, but it doesn't make the story good.
Yeah.
Yes, it looks pretty and shit. I'm sorry, I'm talking about gore. It looks pretty and aesthetically, oh, Hellraiser, but it's like, what the fuck was that actually about?
Yeah,
Do you know what I mean?
it's
There's a few of them. It's just like, what's the point?
yeah.
What is the point?
I mean, to be honest, I mean, we could say Hellraiser, but let's look at all the movies that they have, in my opinion, whether it's yours or not, or even our listeners. Let's look at all the movies that they have made that have movies that way more movies than what it actually needed. So let's take Friday the 13th, Halloween, Texas Chainsaw Massacre, Nightmare on Elm Street.
Nightmare on Elm
All
Street.
these movies have movies that are way too long of a series. And a lot of them will do Friday the 13th. Let's face it, Jason X was kind of a filler movie.
Yes, but it just had one of those kind of shock
Yes.
type, you know,
And then
it's
Halloween.
like pushing the envelope of what can they do,
Yeah, and then we got
isn't it, with this?
yeah, and then we got Halloween, which we've already discussed, Season of the Witch. It's a filler episode, pretty much, in hindsight.
So are most, and so are a few of them, and so are a few of the actual sequels in that franchise
Yes,
as well.
absolutely.
They're pointless and they shouldn't be there.
Yeah, I mean, and then Nightmare on Elm Street, even though Nightmare on Elm Street was consistent with their story base, there was a couple movies that shouldn't have been in there, and you already know,
Don't say Dream Warriors. I
Dream.
will slap you if you say
I
Dream
wasn't gonna
Warriors.
say Dream Warriors,
One
but
of them.
Um,
Like,
I was
fucking
gonna I
slap
was
you.
gonna say one. Obviously, the remake should have never been made. We'll just get that one out the way right now.
Kind of use the same fucking cover as well.
Yes.
Same artwork, similar artwork.
It's not Dream Warriors, but it's the one right after Dream Warriors, number 4. Yes. And then we'll go with for Texas Chainsaw Massacre.
What, the 3D one or just the?
Yeah, there's Texas Chainsaw 3D that should have never been made, but I mean, again, we've already discussed this when we were talking about Baywatch. Alexander Daddario was in it, so it could have stayed for her.
It was worth a watch.
But
exactly,
at the only thing that actually made, in my opinion, them doing Texas Chainsaw 3D halfway decent, even though it was not that great of a movie. I don't know if you can agree with me or not. The one thing that made it decent was actually the fact of they gave somewhat of a background story to not only Leatherface himself, but at the same time, this character who inherited an estate from family that she never had and find out that she is a living relative to Leatherface. That was interesting enough, but yet the movie still was not where it needed to be.
Also, bringing out a relative from out of fucking nowhere,
Yeah.
that's another horror fucking
Cliche,
failure,
yeah.
usually.
Yeah, and then
that you were
let's
taken away because they didn't want you to have that life, and then they just find out that you're fucking related to these people, and
Yep.
half the time they're mental anyway, and maybe if they actually knew some of their backstory and their genetics, they might have actually, you know, be able to get help and not turn into nutcases. You know what I mean?
Yeah, and then on top of that, let's also take the, I guess you can consider them remake. So you had the Texas Chainsaw Massacre, and then you had the Texas Chainsaw Massacre at the beginning. The first one I think had Jessica.
You like Texas Chainsaw Massacre, by the way. You like it, and we play the game. And
Yes.
stuff. It's like we're not ripping into it. We're just saying that we don't like the fucking sequels or the remakes.
Yeah. So the one with, who was it? Jessica Biel, right?
Was it?
Yeah, I think
I don't really remember her because she's not really that memorable for me.
I think it was.
Again, I don't.
I think it was Jessica Biel, but she played in the remake, and then they did the prequel to that. They could have honestly kept those two out. If they wanted to add the Texas Chainsaw 3D, they could have, because that kind of was like that would have been a start of a new franchise of Texas Chainsaw Massacre. Okay, that might have been halfway believable and different.
I remember now. I see a picture of her with jeans and a white tank top that she's tied. I was probably paying more attention to that, and that's why I didn't realize who she was.
Agreeable.
Not with you.
Agreeable.
Just what happens to me sometimes.
I mean, that's agreeable, but I mean, those two could have been left out, to be honest. In my fair opinion, they were trying to retell a story and remake a story that wasn't needed, because if you think about it, they had released that Netflix Texas Chainsaw Massacre movie, which don't get me started on that one. But
you seem like you don't want to get started. I was just like, I'm not going to push that button. I'm not going to poke the bear. It's like, I know better. Are you still there?
I didn't hear what you said. I'm sorry.
I said, I know better. I'm not going to poke the bear.
Yeah,
That's what I said.
gotcha. Yeah, but
Loved it.
the one thing that I've noticed too, and even Halloween is guilty of it.
Isn't it? Always.
Yes, they couldn't let bygones be bygones. So the Texas Chainsaw Massacre, the one that they did for Netflix, they brought back the one who got away. Halloween did the same thing, except for they did it differently, and in my opinion, they did it a lot better because Laurie Strode was preparing for it.
Yeah. But she seems like, remember we said before, is like Laurie Strode is pretty much a walking PTSD survivor, like
Yes.
mentalist, because she is always prepared for him coming back. So she's she's living the rules, like we said before,
Yep.
like what Randy talks about. Don't assume they're dead.
Yep.
Just because they disappeared doesn't mean they're not fucking coming back. She's always thought it was in Halloween H2O where she's, like we said, where she's the dean of the school
Yep.
and she's talking about her past, like she's basically, I've pretty much had to be very aware of who I let into my life,
Yep.
who I don't let into my life, who knows me, changing my name, changing my life, moving away, making sure that no one can find me, and to the point where she had to go into fucking hiding.
Yes. And
And
Texas
then you see
Chainsaw
that
Massacre
dementia.
did it horrible. Like the lady and the female that was in it, she did play the original character that got away from the Texas Chainsaw Massacre series.
Dreamer?
Yes.
No, yeah.
But the thing is, one, did not age well whatsoever. I hate to sound like that, but she did not. Two, they just brought her back in a way that was like, why? It didn't matter. They're in a small Texas town. Have you watched the Netflix one by any chance?
No, I don't.
Don't just
I'm a big anti
yeah.
like
Don't do it.
prisons.
Don't do it. I mean, if you want to, just for the fact of you kind of want to understand what I'm talking about, okay. Is it aesthetically pleasing? Yes. Does it have moments in there that will probably make you want to rip your hair off? Yes.
No, oh
Does
no,
it
don't say that. I can't watch it. That's anxiety right there. I can't deal
now,
with that.
does it have nostalgic moments in it? Abso-freaking-lutely. So basically, the premise of the one that was released on Netflix, if anybody has not seen it, I cannot say do not watch it. I cannot say watch it. Just take it under advisement. It's not the greatest. It did have moments in it, but it wasn't the greatest. So obviously it is modern aged. So you have a group of kids who ended up buying a ghost town in the middle of Texas, and they wanted to try to reform it for
Oh God.
basically hippy dippy kids, pretty much.
Oh,
So
dumbasses, you
yeah,
mean?
yeah, pretty much. But they wanted to basically reform it to where it was kind of like a all vegan, you know, your
Oh God.
hipster type of place, stuff like that. And
I'm gonna stop you right there. I get it. I know what you mean.
well, all right. So
Right, carry on.
they go into a building. They thought they had. Well, the one kid lied. Go figure. Premise to any stupidity kid in a horror movie.
Again, that's breaking a fucking rule right there. You fucking lied.
Yes.
So there we go.
Randy's rules.
You say
Don't
we done.
lie. Um.
Or you die.
Yes, Randy's rule. Don't lie or you die. So they try to get, there's one lady in there that has not given up her deed to her home, and she basically gets escorted out of the home by police. Now, she's an older lady. Well, there is a character in there that doesn't talk that is introduced with this older lady. It is Leatherface, but he doesn't talk. He seems docile. He seems calm. He seems like he's reformed himself. He does not want to kill anybody there. He just wants to live out the rest of his days.
Yeah,
So,
until something like
yeah,
this
so,
happens, and then he just.
and that's what ends up happening is the lady that basically raised him, they take her and him in through on a police van. She ends up having a heart attack on the way to the wherever they're going. Well,
Did they ever talk about how special Leatherface actually is? Like,
I
because
don't
he's got special needs.
I don't think so.
Because he obviously does. We joked about it when we played the game, remember?
Yeah, I think they may have. I I think they may have mentioned it in like the Texas 3D. I do think they touched on it in that one, but I don't think in like the remake they did. And it's been so long since I watched the originals that I'm not 110% sure if they did or not. So basically, going through this, the mother dies. He gets pissed off. He starts going on to their killing rampage, pretty much. Ends up going back into the town to where now there is a bus full of hipsters and kids and everything. Well, that just sets up for the premise of the movie, pretty much. The only part that I actually enjoyed out of that whole movie, because it was basically a big fuck you to cancel culture, is they're having this huge party. I can agree with that. They're having this huge party on the bus. Leatherface walks on the bus with his chainsaw, and that is, before I get into the rest of that, that is kind of the nostalgic part of it, is the lady who raised him actually, no, the lady who raised him actually buried his chainsaw inside the wall of the home they were living in, and he was not allowed to go into her bedroom because she knew he would get it. She basically was trying to reform him to not be a killer.
But it was there just in case.
Yeah, pretty much. So,
We'll go into the wall and get the chainsaw.
Yeah, so he goes in, gets the chainsaw, a few little fight and kill and shit happens, but he goes onto this bus. This is the biggest fuck you to cancel culture that you could ever see. He goes onto this bus, revs their chainsaw, and all these hipster kids pull out their phone, and one of them says, "If you do anything, you're going to be canceled, bro." And then he just goes on to a straight massacre on this bus.
Take no shit.
So,
well done.
That was probably the one main reason why I the movie is because of cancel culture has become such a huge thing over the past, it's 2023, 3 years.
But it's got worse.
Yes.
Apocalypse made it fucking worse.
Yeah, and there's no reason for it. We grew up, you and I, yes, we are a few years apart, but we grew up in a time to where you can get bullied, picked on, joked on, and nobody batted an eye and nobody gave a shit. It was either stand up for yourself or deal with it.
It's not up or shut up.
Yeah.
That's pretty much what I dealt with growing up. Not up or shut up.
I just want to say, for you using that beautiful, beautiful line, I love you even more. Yes, it is nut up or shut up.
What? That's what my dad would used to say, nut up or shut up.
Hey.
And I was a girl, so do you know what I mean? So
mine was, my dad used to always it was pretty much the same premise of it, but it was suck it up, buttercup.
We didn't have that one though.
Yeah,
that was obviously more of American.
Yeah, it's basically the same premise, but also I know nut up or shut up, it's been around for a very long time, but I'm sorry, but just you saying that, it's perfect for one, not only that, but two, just you got Zombieland with Woody Harrelson saying it, and it just cracks me up every time I hear it. So
I'm basically Woody Harrelson, is that what you're saying? I'm Woody Harrelson.
Yes.
I hate Twinkies though, so I'm definitely not him. Even though his Twinkie would have been a vegan one.
Yes. But that was I'm sorry, that quite honestly, when I went to go first I seen Zombieland about 4 times in theater.
I went to see it at the cinema, but see, the actual second one came out on my birthday.
Oh, okay.
So it did, so I had to go see it, and
I wasn't disappointed with the second one. But that's another that was another sequel. I was not disappointed in that sequel at all. But
I didn't even know Amber Heard was in the original one. That's how much I paid attention to her.
Amber Turd was in the original one?
She gets killed at the start.
Oh, she does. Yes, okay. Now I do remember. She was a lot younger and I don't recognize her.
You couldn't remember her because she was that shit. It's like, turd. No one gets.
I mean, that's kind of the same thing. The reason why I watched The House of Wax, to watch Paris Hilton die. Now I'm going to watch Zombieland just to watch her get hit in the head with the back of a toilet seat.
Yeah, pretty much.
Which is kind of ironic, if you ask me.
She deserves a lot. A toilet seat, I'll give her that.
Yeah, I mean, at least she's getting she's getting hit in the head with something she should have used in the first place, not the bed.
Yeah, I know. Dirty bastard. Who the fuck does that?
A
What?
petty
All I keep
ass.
thinking of is how the fuck was she? How the hell is the fact that she's been brought up a certain way? Does she think that was acceptable to do, even as a fucking joke? That's just disgusting. I was like, what the fuck?
Not only that, come on. You are, I'm not even sure how old Amber Heard is, but you are probably
Probably
literally,
older than you. I think she's like 34.
yeah, I mean, literally 20, I'd say 25 years, maybe less, years older than Johnny Depp. I mean,
I
how,
think it's 23. I think 23 or 24.
yeah, so how can you expect not only one of the world's biggest actors, not only that, he's also a musician. He does
Sings,
yeah, and he also
charity.
does a lot of commercials, especially for colognes, stuff like that. How
No.
can you
Savage.
yes, but how can you expect him not to do drugs or drink, stuff like that?
Oh, and he was famous in the 80s of all things, for
Yeah,
fuck's sake, and he owned the Viper Room, for fuck's sake.
so look at it this way: is
Dumbass.
he's got so much on his plate. Of course, he's going to be stressed. Of course, he's going to have some form of anger management, stuff like that.
And he's an
But
artist.
then he's an artist on top of that, and then you're just adding stress on top of him being so petty and such a crybaby, and trying to make him to be out the bad guy, even though you started a women's self-help for domestic abuse, charity thing. How can you sit there and
Laughing about it.
yeah, and how can you sit there and tell me that he did not have every right to go off like he did? I mean, for fuck's sake, I do, but I don't.
Well, I know we're probably going off a word because you tend to do it about Amber Heard because I don't like her. I again see the interview because you believe a guy who has scissors for fingers. I said, did you just say that Johnny Depp is in fact Edward Scissorhands? What the fuck are you smoking?
Hey, you know what?
You said that live on TV. For
He
fuck's sake, making yourself look like an idiot.
he is whoever he wants to be, all right? And
Exactly.
and that's the
He can
thing
be
is
whoever he wants to be.
Johnny Depp is basically, and how we explained on last episodes of the podcast, he is the original Matthew Lillard. He is a mood. He is a genre. He is his own
Johnny
person.
Depp is Johnny. Exactly. He's just Johnny Depp is just Johnny fucking Depp.
And
Again, I'm a big Johnny Depp fan.
so
I
so am
don't
I.
like the Pirates of the Caribbean film, but
I do.
I thought the first one was good.
But I grew up with him.
He was born to play Captain Jack.
He was.
There was no one else could have played
He
him.
was, and the thing is, and that really pissed off so many fans because Disney did try to cancel the Pirates of the Caribbean movies because Disney.
They have a woman one.
No,
It's not all women now.
no, that they because of the whole Amber Turd thing, they did replace Johnny Depp. They didn't want Disney didn't want to be around any of that. But they originally did try to cancel the Pirates of the Caribbean movie because Johnny Depp portrayed a drunk. For Christ's sake, he was a pirate.
They're not
And
even.
not
He's a pirate. He was drunk, and he did loads of shit. They didn't
yeah,
even touch
but
on what fucking pirates did. It was fucking
yeah,
Disney.
and then it was his, as Disney put it, because I know Disney got a lot of backlash for it. It was like his portrayal of how he walked and how he talked and everything like that. Basically, they had a problem with it because he was also the way he was acting portrayed being gay. So they had a problem with it, so they were trying to cancel Pirates of the Caribbean because he was a drunk and the way he was talking and walking portrayed being gay, and they had a problem with it. That pissed me off beyond all belief. It's like he is this notorious, joking, smartass, just goofy all-around pirate, and you're really pissed off because of that? Really? You guys are the ones who made the script. You guys are the ones who okayed the script.
That's incredibly infuriating because a lot of intelligent, I've said it before, act dumb. It's easier.
It is.
You act dumb just so you can fly under the radar so you don't have to deal with fucking people. And I did that my entire life, so I don't. Oh, that is.
It definitely is. It is a lot easier. But also at the same time too, I've had I've had a lot of people like sit there and ask me, they're like, oh, because you always have these stereotypical characters. So, I mean, when you think of, let's say Daniel Craig, first thing you think of, I'm sorry, is going to be James Bond. Or
Yeah.
let's say,
Logan Lucky, I think of when I think of him. Logan Lucky, and also he was good in the original Knives Out, the first Knives Out film, but the second one was shit.
what the
Sorry,
Glass
but the
House or
second one
whatever it
was shit.
is.
Glass Onion,
Yeah, the Glass
it
Onion.
was shit.
As you can see, I didn't care to. I watched it, but I didn't care to remember it.
It was a shame because I like Dave Bautista. I've
Yes,
seen him in things that aren't like
and
him actually acting and not acting like, as you said, about
and
the
it's funny because James Batista is this rock hard guy that did come from wrestling as well,
Dave
and it's
Dave Bautista. You said James.
no, yeah,
Dave
Dave, sorry.
Bautista.
Sorry, sue me. But no, he came from wrestling as well. But the thing is, and this is what cracks me up, is he went from wrestling and he actually his first role that he ever wanted to do was for Drax. And
Yes,
I
and Huey
remember
Bain as
yes,
well.
and I remember watching the interview for him. He said he spent millions of dollars on acting lessons to be able to get the role of Drax, which really didn't need much acting to begin with.
No, it did not.
But when you have, because I can guarantee The Rock, because we're talking about a wrestler, he did not have or spend the money to get acting lessons. But you
Did
now,
he fuck? Because he thinks he's the best actor
yeah.
ever.
But now
He
you
thinks he's the only actor.
But now you have a wrestler who's actually putting the time, putting the effort, putting the money into acting lessons to better his career as a actor. And to me, I will always watch a Dave Bautista movie because he evolves. He played Drax. Drax, like I just said, did not need much of acting talent because he is basically an emotionless character that does not really get sarcasm or anything like that.
Well, you've also got John Cena, who is a wrestler, and he's doing movies
And he
that
actually does halfway decent in his movies, but he also plays movies that actually fit him.
are good for him.
The
Yeah,
Marine, 21 Rounds.
Peacemaker.
Yeah, the piece had conversation.
Don't even get me started with that because it's another fucking
Yeah, don't no.
stupid.
We're gonna ignore that
I
one.
don't.
Yes, that is a sequel, prequel, or remake, but we're gonna fucking ignore that all completely, and we're not gonna get into that conversation.
No,
Anyways,
we are not because because I'm more DC. You're definitely more Marvel, and I argue about pretty much everything. So
but
one of the two.
and then they introduced him into the Fast and the Furious franchise.
The Fast and Furious should have fucking ended a lot when that guy died. They shouldn't have even
And
did they should have just like
I know you are DC.
that's it over and done.
I know you're a DC, and I am Marvel. What really fucking pissed me off, was on the red carpet, Michelle Rodriguez had the fucking nerve to sit there and say that the Marvel movies need to end because there are so many of them and they are way past their time. Fast and the Furious
Again,
is way past its time. I honestly will sit there and say the first four movies. After that,
the first one was
well, the reason
enough.
why I
It was
say
enough.
four is because the very first one, Paul Walker lets Vin Diesel go. That set up for a sequel, but they didn't reintroduce Vin Diesel in the second one, just mainly strictly after Brian O'Connor and helping the FBI. The third one was about a kid who's troubled, goes to Tokyo, becomes a Drift King, ends up introducing Vin Diesel at the very end of it because of Han. And then the fourth one, they all pretty much get back together. They should have cut it off after the fourth one because now you basically brought that story full fucking circle again. That's my take on it. Granted, will I watch them? Yes, because I kind of grew up on them, but I didn't care.
Only one.
But at this point in time, I'm not watching them specifically for the enjoyment anymore like I did original. So, but
Out of the list that I've sent, which
which one through Discord or the email?
yeah, through Discord. See the stuff that I sent. I don't know if you've just seen. Out of the list, I was thinking there's at least one movie on there, like franchise, that makes sense for technically sequels, but only the first three, not there's five, I think, of The Omen, because you have
Yes.
his origin story in the first, and then he's older in the second, and
Yes.
he's coming into his power, and the third one he's an adult and he is
Yes.
I was half asleep and I thought they said we kill, we care when they were chanting. No, when you put the subtitles on, it says we kill, we kill. So my mates thought I was all mental because they said they don't not saying care, they're saying kill. I was like, are you sure?
Yes,
But
definitely
yeah,
the
that's one of the films. Even though because it gave you a full story, it's like origin story, then showing him growing up. It was a continuation of the story,
absolutely
and that's probably the only one. And then the TV show that came out that was like that
was not a fan.
started to show you. I liked it, but I liked the fact that it was showing you him not as a dictator like he is in the third one. That he was taking pictures and stuff. He was a photographer, but he was seeing things and he didn't understand, and they were trying to explain to him who he was and all that carry on. Again, that was another continuation, but another person's vision of him doing something else, and how he couldn't remember things, and has he got fight or flight, and rewriting his brain and stuff like before. And again, you weren't a fan, but I liked it as well, so I
Yeah.
just thought it was good. Out of the full list that I've sent, I think The Omen's probably the only one in that that's got a continuation of the story. I've gave you a list of a couple of ones, like The Blair Witch, for example, wasn't a real movie, right? It wasn't a real fucking thing. It was all fake, and they portrayed it as
Real.
Snotter
Yeah.
House 5000. Right, so Blair Witch definitely not, but the second one I liked the film because it had a good soundtrack. It was more dark and gothic, and apparently the goth lassie looks like a more rounder version of me apparently. You've got Twin Peaks, the original show with Kyle MacLachlan, amazing. They did bring out another sequel to the TV show a few years back, but they also brought out Fire Walk With Me, wasn't it? Which was Twin Peaks, which made no sense. Carrie, again, the first Carrie movie, very, very good. Obviously, a very, very good film, and very, very good for its time with the fact that they had topics that, again, would still today would be okay, but back then wasn't.
Yeah.
That's why Carrie always withstands it. But the sequel to Carrie, I actually liked that, but not because it was Carrie 2, because it was like based in this day and age, and
Yes.
if I have. So it's separate films, even though technically it's a sequel. And they try and say it's a sequel, but it didn't really have, it didn't have fluidity, and it wasn't a continuation. They were taking it
Are you talking about
like
the one with
daft as well.
Chloe Grace Martiz or whatever?
Yeah, Moran's or something.
Yeah.
Something more. Yeah, yeah, her from Kick-Ass. We can't say her fucking name right between the two of us.
Yes.
Yes, her. Evil Dead, again, first film was banned in some places because of the tree scene. Then you
Yes.
had the second film, same as the first, but the third film was still a continuation because of what happened at the end. Then we have The Exorcist. Again, did we really, really need them to go back to Reagan and as an adult or a teenager and put her through that shit? No, we didn't need to do that. We didn't need to do that at all. And now she's in the new film that's coming out.
Yep.
And then
Also, real quick before you finish, or before you keep going through it, disclaimer for anybody who is listening: you might hear a child screaming in the background. That is just my child. He wants to basically be a part of this lovely world that we are bringing to you guys. So,
I actually managed to get as much of it out, to be honest, with the software that I use. So it's actually not that bad. But might actually hear something in the background. You might hear something in the background from me as well. It could be my dog shouting at me or my child. So again, The Woman's the only one. Friday the 13th did have a story, but then it went off in tangents, as you know. Hellraiser, far too many. The Cube, again, the first three were fine, but the additional two that came out years later, they were just trying to revamp and reissue basically the original trilogy. Then Children of the Corn, again, a continuation of the creepy children. That was, again, did we need all of them? No. Maybe two or three, but not all of them. The Ring films as well.
yeah,
That was Hollywood making all those fucking sequels because it was popular to remake Japanese and Asian films and Asian cinema.
yeah. So, for anybody of
And
you don't
again, it
know,
was pointless.
anybody who don't know, the Ring was actually called the Ringu, or Japanese original movie. Quite honestly, I feel as if the Japanese movies were a lot better than
They were dark,
very dark.
and they weren't like, the way Hollywood makes them.
Yep, and same with the
Like I said, Blair Witch is
same with the
not.
Grudge as well.
Yes, and again, they used Sarah Michelle Gellar in that, thinking it would sell.
Or Scooby
She
Doo.
did, though. Her career didn't really take off. Oh, Suki, that was terrible. James Gunn did that too. I was like, ugh, don't. I hate that man. So I hate him. I hate him with a passion. What else is it? I'm trying to look at the ones that I've listed. I've got glasses on. I still can't see for shit. The House. Yeah, have you ever seen House? Not like I said, not the medical drama, but they had the movies. House.
Yes.
They were the 80s. They were creepy as fuck. The pizza with a face on it always freaked me out. Every time you get a pizza delivered, that would have someone's face on it. I'm trying to think what other sequels, because that's the majority of horror movies that have crazy amounts of sequels, like Lost Boys as well. They didn't need 2 and 3.
They
Is there
did.
any more? There could be, but I really don't want to watch them. When I watched the second one, when they heard the remake of Cry Little Sister, I just shouted no all the way through the thing. I was like, nope, nope, nope. No, no. I was like, nope, nope. Still a soundtrack I listen to while I train as well. I love that soundtrack. And no, no,
Yeah, I can agree with that one.
just no. So, the Lost Boys, they didn't need a sequel. It didn't need
And
a prequel. Has not even had a prequel. Fuck.
and I see another one on here too, and I definitely the first one, and that's Jaws.
Which, yes, did we really need
Didn't need
more
any of
movies
them
to make
after
us not go in the
Jaws,
water?
because I mean Jaws.
It's obviously not the same shark.
No, no, it's not. But that's literally, you have like the most classic references in the first one. You kill a shark because it's killing a bunch of people. The end. Story's over. The kind of the same thing. And I liked them because Jason Statham was in the movies. I did like the Meg series. So I did like 1 and 2, but they introduced it.
Actually going to say that to you, Meg.
Yeah.
Like, how do you feel about the Meg getting us?
To be honest, it was good because it not only introduced the fact that there are more Megs, but it also did introduce other lives under the blanket, the pocket, that weren't just Megs. So the first one, yes, was about a Megalodon. The second one, though, yeah, it might have been about the Megalodon, but it also had a Kraken. It also had a bunch of other life forms under that blanket for the sea. So it was different. It didn't.
Do you not think that Meg was very similar to that? Kind of reminded me of Deep Blue Sea, but it wasn't as good because it didn't have LL Cool J in it and Samuel Jackson. But it also kind of reminded me of that Jaws film that was underwater. Now, having an underwater, like, fucking research centre, when has that ever went down fucking well?
Yeah, I mean,
When is that ever?
I mean, come on. Deep Blue Sea, over and over and over, underwater
Facilities like that,
facility.
you're either going to get a leak or you're going to get pissed off the thing you're fucking researching, or both, or that's the catalyst that causes it in the fucking first place.
Absolutely.
You're just asking to die.
So
You're putting yourself at risk.
So now we're literally, boom, hey, let's make a movie about a shark that's a lot bigger than a great white that's been basically genetically altered to be smarter. Now let's make a movie about a shark that's about the size of like 4 school buses and huge for an underwater facility. At this point in time, yeah, you are asking for trouble.
Every time when I seen the trailer for the Meg, the first time I seen it, like for the first movie, with the wee girl at the window, I was like, nope, I would not have my child in one of those. Nope.
Yeah.
That is irresponsible. It's okay putting yourself at risk like that, but a fucking child? No.
Yeah, and
Worst parents ever.
And the 2 that you sent me, and I see you typing again.
Oh, I'm always typing.
No, you're fine. So Jeepers Creepers, they could have stopped after the second one.
They could. I haven't seen the first.
So there are actually.
I like the second one because it's a continuation.
So
it is, and it's not a continuation years later either. It's a continuation literally as it's happened.
Yeah,
continued it,
but
which is good.
You also sit there too, and you say the third one. But there are technically 4 Jeepers Creepers movies. That was absolutely horrible. And then you had Jeepers Creepers Origins that just recently came out not too long ago, which wasn't horrible. Is it really, really worth watching? I watched it. Would I rewatch it? Probably not.
I love how you go, probably not. If it's on the TV, I'll make sure I'm doing something else, like,
Exactly. If it's
removing my nails, without fucking anesthesia.
yeah, if it's gonna be
Practically.
put on as a background aesthetic, then yeah, it can stay as a background aesthetic. But will I ever just rewatch it? Probably not, unless I feel like I really want to see if there's any Easter eggs in it to tie it in with the original two, maybe, but probably not.
Or you can do a Google search because probably someone's watched it, so you don't have.
Bingo. Google is amazing for that.
Exactly.
Now,
Exactly.
Doctor Sleep. I seen you posted that one on here, and you did ask the question: did we need a sequel to The Shining? Absolutely not. But did it have?
Can I say thank you?
Yeah.
Can I just say thank you? Because the amount of people that said that I'm fucking wrong. No, I'm not.
No, it did not need
Thank
a
you.
sequel at all. But in a way, was it interesting and cool to kind of expand that universe and then finally destroy the Overlook Hotel? Yeah, I mean, that is basically what made the movie, was him finally facing his fears after all these years and finally getting rid of everything. But it was not needed. It definitely
Read the
was not
book,
needed. Yeah.
but again, I just don't break what ain't. Or don't fix what ain't broken. You know what I mean? If they're not broke, don't fix it. That's what I feel about The Shining. But I just know I hate though when people do. I've noticed like some people talking about horror and talking about obviously the genres that we talk about. How they go on about The Shining constantly, or The Exorcist, or the Texas Chainsaw Massacre constantly, and it's just like, yes, I get their classics, but what else do you have to add about your podcast other than the stuff that you've read online? Half the time, I think these people haven't fucking watched the films or even read anything other than get online.
Yeah. Uh, I mean, the list that we honestly came up with, and the little, yeah, we did kind of go off on a tangent a little bit. I honestly think
Don't worry.
it had its place.
And also, when I'm cutting them down, I can cut out what I don't need.
Yeah, but I definitely think it did have its place. But no, everything. I mean, guys, we want your opinions.
You won't like it that one of the ones that have came up is Aliens. I like that film.
Okay, each and every Alien movie, I'm sorry, needed its sequel because it felt
We
like,
discussed that.
yeah, it felt like every single movie either ended on a question or a visual, yes, or a visual that showed, hey, this is going to play into a future movie.
Exactly.
Now,
Someone
granted,
said something bad about Prometheus, and I had to literally walk away from my computer.
how dare them?
So,
But
yeah,
like now, granted, what is it? Alien. I think it was Aliens 3 when she fell into the metal or whatever while the alien was bursting out of her chest. Granted, that could have been the end of the series. Could have.
what?
But they still,
Universe.
yeah, they still needed the universe. They still needed to tie everything together. And not only that, it's a future universe. It's
Exactly.
so you have androids.
Yep.
So why not
expand in that universe? And what they did, like we said in Resurrection, some folk don't like Resurrection when you're trying to explain why it was fucking genius them doing that. Why wouldn't they have created something like that with Ripley?
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean?
Yeah, and not only that, because
Like,
you did, again, you have a movie coming out called Resurrection. Why is it called Resurrection? Well, there's a very good reason why. You find out that they resurrected Ripley. They resurrected her because she basically was the perfect host.
Mother.
Or mother, yeah.
Okay.
So, but
And the way mother means to like every, like, obviously children and offspring.
But there are,
you can argue with those people,
yes,
just because we agree. We disagree quite a lot, so
yes,
even though there's a lot we do agree on.
absolutely. I mean, we do agree on a lot and disagree on a lot, but a lot of that is subjective because that's just how we are. I mean, you can't sit there and tell me that they're, like you and I both, we absolutely hate prequels, sequels, remakes, stuff like that. They're not the greatest because they don't follow originality, they don't follow fluidity throughout everything, and there are a few that do.
And then you get it's not the same sort of caliber of writer either, and they try and cut corners, and they just literally have to rewrite an entire basically storyline to fit in their movie or their show or whatever, and that's what fucking pisses us all off.
Absolutely. And then you got movies that we both agreed on: Ginger Snaps, Prometheus, The Dark Tower, and Bates Motel.
Did we go right into the Bates Motel though, or was that before we started recording?
I think that was before we started recording.
Well, what do you think about Bates's Motel along with the movies? Even though there is remakes and things like that, we both have discussed at length about the shows and things like that in the movies, and there's a few things we do end up talking about because we've not been recording. But the Dark Tower, if you weren't aware, was actually a movie. I don't know when that movie came out, but it's a movie based on one of Stephen King's books, which is pretty much an important part of the universe, the Dark Tower, and it does explain it in the movie. And the gunslinger in that is Idris Elba, and he was really, really, really good. There was the one actor that actually didn't. I was really happy to see playing that character, but I wasn't happy when I found that Matthew McConaughey was going to be the fucking demon, the devil. I was like, are you kidding me? That guy's a douche. I fucking hate that prick. I don't like him as an actor, but see, like hearing about him as a person and shit that he's went through, I can actually be like, oh, he's actually no bad guy. I just don't like him when he acts. So I can. It's the other way around for Matthew McConaughey with me. But the Dark Tower was amazing, and it touches on things from it with Pennywise, like we were saying, because you see the fear that, and again, that was going to be one of those movies that opened up loads of fucking shit, which was going to be good, but it didn't. And when we were talking about Bates's Motel, that the TV show showed him differently to the movies because you got to see him in a kind of younger version of himself in his relationship with his mother. But they brought in like other characters that weren't actually in the movie and stuff. But again, it was just probably to sell that movie, to be honest. And how there was a lot of mystery with his mum in the TV show that you didn't find out in the movie. It was all about how creepy Norman was and how Norman was pretty much wanting to be his mum. Probably would take her skin off like Buffalo Bill and probably wear it, not just her clothes. Because he gave me those sort of feels.
Absolutely.
So,
Absolutely.
so the Bates's Motel. What do you think of it?
I loved it because
Was it really?
um, not I mean, Bates Motel, even though it was more set in a modern time, it still gave the prequel sense of Norman Bates.
Like a
Yeah,
backstory?
it gave a backstory just for the modern time. Do I kind of wish they would have kept with the original times of it? Yes, but it's a little hard to do when the original movies were black and white for one. For two, um, it would have been hard in general. So doing it a little differently and adding the sense of he's not exactly creepy crazy from the start. His mom is overbearing and over controlling. He just wants,
That's how you
yeah,
find out what it was like for him,
yes,
basically.
he eventually snaps because he is tired of being controlling, but at the same time, he's just wanting his mother's love.
You actually see in Bates's Motel though, his mum was obviously on her own at bringing him up, and he had a brother, but she don't see that again. They created this brother, didn't they, for the TV
Yes,
show, and they gave him a girlfriend and stuff, and they tried to give him like this is him as a normal life, but he didn't fit in. He wasn't just an introvert. There was obviously something oddly weird because of his relationship with his mother and him. His mum was still similar to how he acts like in the movies, where his mum would tell him that women are evil and stuff, and like they're
yep,
only after your like cock, basically, which is true for some people, not for all women. Do you know what I mean? But he, again, in the black and white films, again, in a time that actually people's mums would have fucking said that back then, I would
yeah,
say.
and
So I like how
not only that too, they did give him a premise.
Bates is.
as well because of like you said, they did introduce characters and stuff like that throughout, and the characters that they introduced, like his brother. His brother was technically his cousin as well, because his brother was basically the his uncle's son that raped Norman's mom. So it did open a lot to understand why his mental state,
His mom was like that
yeah, his mental state was the way it was.
because of his mother. But
Yeah,
the woman who plays the mom though, she was really good. She's like in Conjuring and stuff, and she is a really, really good actress. And I really liked her the way she was
she,
with him because she was quite a stern, not just possessive and controlling, but she was very strict.
yes, and she played in another movie that I
Well,
absolutely a very very decent part of my heart, and that's Orphan.
yes, that movie is messed up.
It is, and that's actually based off of a true story, to be honest.
I know it is.
And
I
that's
know I've actually it's a true
that
it's
that's
like true
creepy
crime
as
and
hell.
stuff.
But um,
It is creepy too.
and the
Imagine that.
yeah, and the one thing that we discussed and we joked around about Bates Motel is anytime Norman Bates got upset, anytime he was the way he was, his mood was always mother. There was never anything in between it. It was always mother, mother this, mother that, mother.
But if you hear us saying a mood is mother, that's what we're referring to is when we say mother as a mood, we're referring to how we're feeling a lot like Norman Bates today, or there's someone who gives you Norman Bates feels, basically. Just in case people wonder when we just randomly shout mother going, like, what the
Yeah.
fuck?
And then we got Prometheus on here as well.
Which again, I was not happy about some people saying that they think it's pointless and it's not. I was talking to my husband about it today, and he does agree because we were talking about, I still get mixed up about, how what combination gets what, like engineer, alien, engineer, and human.
Yeah. But Prometheus,
You're doing it in 16 minutes. Right, okay. But see before you, sorry, 1 second. See before you do that, can you go into the shed and get me tinfoil? I'm on a podcast. I can't go outside. My headset will fucking cut off. It doesn't go to the fucking shed. Sorry. I just need sorry, kitchen foil, and it's in the shed because it's in a massive big ass roll, and I don't want any more shite kicking about. I don't think it's in here. It was the gravy that came off, and I just put it on the top because I thought, why waste good steak pie gravy? What the fuck? It's because I put something on top of pastry, and he's not happy about it. I don't. It's like I'm fucking putting it in the oven, so I'll do it my way. He's got an Eve thing. That's what he was just telling. But it's fine. Are you still there?
I am.
You know what it's like when you're at my computer's in the living room, so you'll hear things. Unfortunately,
Yeah, mine's in. I have a game room set up, and it seems like everybody still wants to come in here when it's literally just a empty room.
it's because you're in it. Thank you, honey. Good job. You're pretty. How dare you say that? Good job. I'm pretty. That's why you went to the fucking shed for me. Fucking do loads of shit for me. You're supposed to like treat me like a goddess and shit. Some BS like that. Apparently. Which means you say, why are you a goddess? Are you going to get slapped live on a podcast? I saying that? You dick. I am like the goddess of pure evil, so maybe not. Are you laughing because I called myself the goddess of evil? Pure, unadulterated evil.
Sounds like we're going on pure unadulterated wrestling here.
It wasn't as because I was like, I'm a goddess.
Yes,
Because he said, good job, you're pretty, and I just nearly slapped him for it.
well deserved.
I don't like compliments about my. I don't like compliments about how I look. Put it that way. I don't like people like making a comment on how I look physically. If you call me ugly as fuck, I'd rather have that. So.
Well, you have a great personality, so there's that.
And when you say that, it's basically the ugly girl anyway. She's got a really nice personality, but she's ugly as fuck.
Now, I wasn't saying that because you said you didn't like compliments about your look, saying you have a great
Oh no, but
personality.
that's what usually people say. It's like she has a really good personality.
But that's
So
not true. We're just not going into the compliments because I don't need a Discord slap, okay?
they don't even have one. If they did, I would totally create it.
They have a GIF. They have plenty of GIFs about slapping, so.
too. I forgot about that.
So, but no, Prometheus. Good old Prometheus. And that is a movie through and through to where I would slap anybody if they said prequel to the Alien franchise was not needed. It might not have been, but it was we'll put it that way. Prometheus was definitely in its own word needed. Because you basically start off Aliens, the very first one, just getting a ship full of people that are getting murdered by aliens. Well, where did the aliens come from? How did these aliens come to be? Well, Prometheus was that answer.
Also, why were they created?
Yes.
Why were they sent to where they were sent? Was this an experiment where you just try to fuck with?
Yeah, and Prometheus was that answer. It was what it was needed. So it's
We needed it.
yeah, we
It was a
needed it.
one that was.
There's not much I can really touch on when it comes to Prometheus because it was needed. It had its spot in the universe just like any other alien movie does.
And there we go. You reminded me that I could send you a slap.
It's not well deserved, but it's well deserved. We'll go with that.
I wouldn't slap like that anyway. You know, Prometheus is one that again answers questions that maybe people didn't know, people weren't aware. It's horrible. The other one who's getting slapped seems to be like, you're getting it right in my eye.
It's
It's not
almost
like
like
you're not even slapping.
it's almost like she's enjoying it but hating it all at the same time.
Maybe it's the person who's slapping. She doesn't want her to slap at her. Maybe.
I feel bad for her ear though.
I know that would hurt, wouldn't it?
Like her
The
ears
eye and the ear.
her ears taking the brunt of the fingertips, but her palm is hitting the eye. Like, sorry guys, I know
like
we're
a
going off a
ping.
tangent here, but we're just having a comedy
It will
moment.
get cut out. Don't worry. A comedy. We're having a episode within the.
We're having an episode within
So
the
basically,
episode.
it's Prometheus. Yeah, it's like within. There's actually it's not a movie, real life to the movie within the movie within. That was like Blair Witch, but Prometheus was one that was needed. I believe that the trilogy for The Omen was needed because again, you couldn't fit that into a movie. That would have to be three movies because back then movies didn't last for hours and hours on end. So having three movies again was okay. What was the other movies that I had sent?
The last
That I
one we'd have to talk
believe
about is Ginger Snaps.
Ginger Snaps as well. Oh, Ginger Snaps. Yes, those three are the only movies that I think sequels did something and the prequels did something. But the rest of them, I just think it was money.
Oh,
And
absolutely.
if you in the 2000s and stuff, Jeepers Creepers, sorry, as well. The second movie, because it was something that started straight afterwards, after Derry was killed. It was literally a continuation from that time because another timeline, it was showing you another timeline, technically, Jeepers Creepers 2, that was happening at the same time, sort of, and it overlapped type thing. So Jeepers Creepers, Ginger Snaps, Prometheus, and The Omen are the only films that I think that their sequels actually didn't help with the original movie, but they answered questions. Maybe people who had doubts and stuff, those types of movies in that franchise, they thought about it and it wrapped up everything for everyone. So when you do watch the movie, you can actually look at other films. You know, you were watching the film, you might see something else they didn't notice before because other questions have been answered when you actually rewatch them again.
Yeah.
But the rest of them, it's all to do with money. And if it was the 2000s, how many young girls could we get to scream and wear little outfits and be covered in blood and be killed grotesquely, usually, and pointlessly, them even being there?
I'm so
They were
glad you
just there
finished
because,
that.
well, what?
You said it was the two
Finished what?
that
Why?
that line of thought, and you didn't take a pause because we would have been on a another tangent because you said it was the early 2000s. How many girls can we get to scream? But
Did I
you
not
kept going. You
pause?
kept going, which was good. We
Alright,
didn't need a
because like I
pause there.
paused randomly in the last podcast and then it just started a whole tirade of like laughing and so that's what happened during the last podcast because I took a pause.
One
I
whole
went, oh, William
pause.
Shatner. I know. So that's how we feel about the movie. You agree with me, don't you? The ones that I picked, Jeepers
Absolutely,
Creepers, Ginger Snaps, Prometheus, and the Omen,
absolutely.
they
Those
all
they all deserved a sequel, but yes, I agree with you 110%. Yep.
Those were the exceptions. Things that were like delayed for like maybe 20 odd years, even 10 years plus. It should be a different redo the whole series. Don't do the fucking sequels, in my opinion. Because if you want to start afresh, then why do a sequel to a movie that's like, say, 10-year-old when most people have forgotten about it? Or if it is a cult movie, or if it is a movie that like really like a dark horror old school movie, you don't really want to be putting a sequel that's based in this timeline, because again, the way our world is now is different from what it was then. So it's kind of like, again, Bates Motel does work because they kind of made it like dark, like Sabrina and stuff. They kind of made it a more darker, less poppy, as I would say, like kind of universe. So it was, again, I don't agree with that. Like, see if they turned around and said to me, like, oh, they're going to make a sequel to. See, Children of the Corn, didn't they have any? And they said they're going to make a sequel to Children of the Corn. I said, are they going to remake it, or are they just giving you a sequel? I'd be asking those questions, and then I'd be asking, but why? Why would you not just reboot the full thing? Why? Makes no fucking sense. Because again, we live in a different world to then. Are they going to go back and probably fuck it up by trying to go back, or are they just going to bring it forward and fuck it up anyway? And what story are they going to go by? Are they going to rewrite something and change something so the first movie doesn't even make any sense? Because that's the kind of shit you've got to deal with the fact that there's no fluidity and there's no continuation of the story, and most of the shit won't make sense because you fucking changed something. And even if it's a tiny minority thing that you've changed, it's not in that universe that it usually ends up blowing up like biblical proportion, that you change one wee tiny fucking thing and then that's it. Game over. Makes no sense. Then people are like, what the fuck did I just watch? I just wasted like 1 hour and like 40 minutes watching this shit. Do you know what I mean?
Yep.
So that's what usually happens. And then you question, what the fuck were you on when you wrote this? Did you just like write this when you were in the toilet doing a you know what I mean? He's like, what the hell were you doing? Were you even, it's like, were you late for your deadline and you just randomly pulled something out your ass? 'Cause it's absolutely terrible. That's what I feel like.
Which is definitely how I do feel about sequels and prequels, because I do feel like the writers are just like gung ho trying to make money and definitely pull something out of their ass.
It's the whole prequel, the fact that they've changed something in a sequel, or see, like you've got like Hellraiser, for example, because that's got like so many. It started in the 80s all the way up to now, basically. You've got the story, the original story, and then you've got all these other stories, and then they change everything, which is what we talked about before. They change the Cenobites. The original Cenobites are scary enough. Bringing in Dugs and bringing in other shit because you're trying to be like risky and obscure. You're not. You're just making it by far more complicated than it has to fucking be. And again, if you're trying to introduce more people or a different generation, you'd want to see, in my opinion, you'd want to see like, Hellraiser. We want to see Hellraiser like with a continuation of the story, but in this world, if they are going to do that. But they don't, because they get very, very choppy, because they're like thinking, what the fuck has been done? It's not even about deaths or how gory they are either. It's like the story just makes no sense. And we watched the one recently, and see if you took the puzzle box out, that would just be a normal horror film.
Yeah, absolutely
Do you get what I
would.
mean? They could have some kind of like Saw as well. There's like you can take like one big thing out of it, and it's still just, yes, it's like a horror film, and it's a horror film. But when you take away one random thing, it's like, can it still be a good movie? Yes, but there's sometimes, again, they need the item. Like you need the puzzle box to sell the movie. You need Chucky, for example, to sell the movie or the show or whatever. You know what I mean? Because the writing's that bad, they're just using the original concept and then changing things. And that's what I don't like about some things, because if you change something, say in, I'm trying to think, a sequel, well, Jeepers Creepers, the second one, is good, and a continuation of the story, and pretty much didn't. It was a couple of years before that film came out, and then you get 3 and 4. You can't really remember, don't really want to remember them because they're terrible, not a continuation, and they change things. So if you do rewatch them, and then sometimes you bring out a prequel or whatever, to kind of redo your mistakes because you've changed something. You've changed something so drastically even bad, that you've got to create a prequel to repair the damage you've done, which cancels out your movies anyway, so people can still watch the original movie and sequel to still enjoy it. Do you get what I mean?
Yeah.
Or did I just go off on a
No,
tangent?
I definitely get what you mean.
Also, I think he would want to hear about the evolution and how the movies became what they are today if he was alive, or would he have even said what holds in the future for horror movies or whatever? And his his niece and nephew could write it because his sister had kids.
Yeah.
He could have rewrote it, could have kept it in the
There we
family
go.
type thing.
That's going to be our next merchandise right there. We're going to make a book, Randy's Rules of Horror Survival.
And then like what he would think of, what would Randy think, or what would Randy do? What would Randy do? Don't we're giving them ideas for like fucking well, not content, but we're giving them ideas for them to make merchandise, to be honest, aren't we?
Yeah.
Definitely.
Yeah, as we covered throughout this episode, sequels, prequels, and remakes lack originality. They are, as you could tell, the sounds of disappointment in my voice. They are fitting in some aspects, like the movies that we did talk about: Ginger Snaps, Prometheus, Dark Tower, Bates Motel, and The Omen. They did have in the series to be sequels or prequels. But there are a lot of movies out there, guys, that we have talked about that do not need to be there. Do not need to be remade, made second, third, fourth, fifth part of, or even just explain the storyline from the beginning. They don't need it. That is our opinion. This is how we feel. We, again, have a few movies that we agree with, but we have a lot of movies, horror or non-horror, that did not need the extra amount of content for their movies. It would have made the movies no less different. It would have not helped in any way. And in my opinion, and I'm pretty sure Darcy feels the same way, that it is just a big money grab, is all it is. Now granted, obviously movie studios and stuff like that, they're always trying to find their next big movie. They're trying to find their next big break, stuff like that. I understand that. Pretty sure she does too. But when a series needs to be let go, it needs to stop because it's not going to bring in the money that it originally wanted.
Just going to end up hating the franchise,
Exactly.
the original franchise that it came from.
Exactly.
Hating is not the same.
Look at Halloween. The 3 last movies that they made, they were not that big of a hit. They really weren't. Why? Because
They should have just did one.
yeah, because they tried to continue the story way too many times. It was not needed. The remakes
We've done
of
it. Just give it up.
Yeah, the remakes of Nightmare on Elm Street, Friday the 13th, they were not needed. They are well, especially Nightmare on Elm Street, because don't get me started on the character that played Freddy in that one. I'll go off on a tangent for hours because that was a poor excuse of
Kind of like Pinhead when other people play him.
yeah.
It's not a Hellraiser movie if it's not got the original.
And there was another movie in here that I just thought of that could have been added to this list too, and that was Wishmaster.
Oh fuck yes! What? Why did I forget about that? I used to watch. That was my Friday night movie. Sorry. I mean, someone my husband had his headset on. He shared it there because he's like, no, plus he's on comms as well. So, I love that cover Wishmaster, where it's kind of like a triangle type,
Yes.
or kind of like the timer thing, and then it had like the egg timer thing, and then you'd have like the face coming out, and it was just like pure black, like the darkest black onyx color. I had it in VHS. I love covers. I'm a sucker for movies and obviously albums and stuff. So seeing something like that, it's just like brings back memories of me holding the VHS and mum's like, again. Do you know what I mean? If it was not horror, it was The Flash again. Do you know what I mean? It's like, yes, again.
Yeah. But
All
that
the
definitely
in a video shop.
That movie,
That should have just
yeah,
stopped.
that movie needed to stop. They didn't need to make the 4, 5.
I forgot about the Prophecy. That those sequels were all good. Warlock had a good sequel as well, cheesy and stuff.
Yes.
Again, just I'm sitting here now. You tell me, I'm just like, oh, I want to watch that now.
Yeah, it kind of hit
Just
at
make
like
me
the
watch that
last
now.
minute. I'm just sitting here going like there was another one that I wanted to talk about too that didn't get brought up, and it was that movie. For the simple fact, again, it's one of those movies. I mean,
It's a good movie.
it is. It definitely was a good movie. Just I don't think it had its time and place for the sequels. Um,
But it's just that we're sick of seeing them, and people like, do you know that I read an article like today saying that people are wanting more prequels than sequels, and I was like, no, a prequel is needed for, well, there's time and place for a prequel and a sequel
yes,
as well. But I don't think they should go down the road of keep doing prequels because sequels aren't working. Put it that way. Do you agree?
I agree. Wholeheartedly agree.
It's just they've got nothing else to write about, and they're just like same shit, man. And it's just not. And they need to look at smaller like production companies and smaller writers. People are just starting out and fucking see what they're doing because there's people out there who could change different genres in movies and TV shows. They just need a chance for someone to notice their work.
Yep, I can agree with that wholeheartedly.
Because how many people have had their fucking scripts taken by big Hollywood actors or big Hollywood, big shots basically, because they just don't have the money or the funds or the experience or even they know anyone to even help them out. It's not like they've got a Kevin Smith band of friends who'll help him out, do loads of shit and make him who he is today.
Yes,
Not everybody has that.
absolutely. So, anything else you want to
Do
add?
you have any fact?
Do I have a fact? I do actually have a
Do you have
fact.
any fact?
Of
You've always got facts though.
course I do.
You're gonna be like the fact buster.
I am. So this one is actually kind of now the reason why I did this fact is I know it's gonna sound bad, but it's because we both have dogs. So this is a disturbing. Dogs like squeaky toys because they mimic the screams of their prey.
That's hilarious.
So
I can imagine them
yeah,
doing that,
so
especially the way they shake them and stuff.
going into this, it says there's a theory that they rip the squeaker out of the toy because as long as it squeaks, the dog still thinks it's alive. We hope you like this episode of Dilemmas from the Dark Side. If you guys have any remakes, sequels, prequels that we may not have mentioned or that you guys think we haven't seen, and you actually think they're halfway decent, please let us know in the comments, and we will maybe check them out. Again, our thoughts go to the fact that we don't like them. So if you can give us anything that can change our minds, that would be great. But
You can
yeah,
try, but you may not be
yes,
successful.
but if you guys are passionate about this stuff like we are, um, you guys will understand that horror movies or many movies in general don't need them.
If the story's written correctly and, for the original movie, then you don't need to have a sequel and a prequel because you'll tie out all those ends, sorry, in the movie and keep people on the edge of their seat like you used to with your movies before you got lazy and knew you were just going to release a sequel.
Exactly. So again, if you guys like what you listened to today, you guys want to add any comments, questions for us, anything like that, please go ahead and leave us those comments. We will get back to them as soon as we can. Again, this is Lunar Rising.
And I am Darcy Darkness.
You guys have a good day. Later.